You have trouble walking long distances because your legs start to feel heavy and weak? You might have spinal stenosis. Welcome to Talking with Docs. I'm Dr. Brian Weenie.
I'm Dr. Paul Zalza. We have a specialist here, a spine surgeon,
Dr. Brian Drew,
who's going to shed some light on this entity called spinal stenosis. You may have it, you may have heard of it. Before we go on, please just hit subscribe. If you're not subscribed and you're watching this, you're trespassing. Really, I mean, really, that's what's happening here. Just hit subscribe, it's free. Thanks for coming with us.
My pleasure.
Spinal stenosis, I want to know, what is that? Who's at risk for that? And what can I do about it?
Great. Well, it's one of those things as we age,
Oh boy.
it starts to happen. Okay. Just like the outside of our body is changing, the inside of our body is changing. We can get arthritis in our hip or knees, as you guys know
We deal
about.
with.
Spinal stenosis isn't technically arthritis, but it's a result of a degenerative process inside of our spine. We're just going to talk about the lower lumbar part of our spine, because stenosis can happen in our neck, and it's a little bit of a different issue. But in our lower back, there's vertebrae, discs, and then some ligament inside the spinal canal where the nerves run down the middle. As they run down the middle, they exit between each vertebrae and then run down our legs.
Okay.
So over time, our discs can start to bulge and degenerate, and they push backwards inside of the canal and start to narrow the canal a little bit.
Okay.
On the sides of the canal, there are facet joints. They're little knuckle-sized joints. You've probably heard of bone spurs in your shoulder or knee. Well, those are joints that are similar. Those spurs can grow into the canal and start to narrow it from the side.
Yep.
And then there's ligament at the back that degenerates and thickens and pushes in from the back.
Has a
So
great
it's-
name, ligamentum flavum. Like, it's such a good name.
That's a fancy
It's
name.
a really good name.
It is.
Really good name.
So that all those things contribute, so you get a kind of a 360-degree narrowing. So any tube in our body that starts to narrow is called stenosis. So when people have a heart attack and their arteries are narrowing, that's coronary artery stenosis. So it's just narrowing of a tube. So as that narrows, at some point in time, it hits a critical threshold where the nerves start to get compressed. And then those nerves, as I talked about, run down the legs. So you start to feel symptoms into your leg. Generally, it's pain, but it's not all the time. With disc herniations, as we talked about in the other video, that disc's hitting the nerve and you have constant pain, usually in one leg, because the disc goes off to the side. This is a 360-degree process, so it tends to affect both legs.
Okay.
It can start with one initially, because one side might be a little worse than the other side of your canal, but eventually it tends to be both sides. And it tends to be more intermittent, so it's not there all the time like a disc herniation. So you might be sitting watching TV and you feel just fine. You get up to walk, as you talked about at the beginning, and then you start to feel pain into the legs. Some people describe it as a heaviness. It starts to feel weak. You can get pins and needles or numbness that occurs. And then you're like, I don't like this. And you sit down and it goes away.
There you go. Contributing to that sedentary lifestyle.
And then you want to sit around
We have
all
a
day
name for
long
that, right?
because it hurts.
That process of getting up walking and feeling dead legs and sitting out getting better, that has a term, right? Like neurogenic
Claudication.
Claudication. We made
Exactly.
a video about this, talking about the difference between claudication from the nerves or from the blood
Yeah,
vessel.
that's
So really, it's a space problem. It's just a space problem.
Correct.
Just like the first apartment I had in Toronto. It was a space problem.
Yeah, probably cost you a lot of money too living in that
Yeah.
place.
Apartment claudication. But what we didn't even mention that we assumed is that what lives in there is your spinal cord. So all of the nerves that feed our entire body are in this tube. So if there's not enough space for your spinal cord to go there, that's what's causing the problems. Your spinal cord is unhappy and those little nerves at the bottom.
So down
Right.
there, we're past the cord. Yeah, now we're
Yeah.
the nerve roots
Yeah.
down there. Yeah.
Yeah, the cord stops in that upper part of your back, but there's still all the nerves that come off that run down into the most of the lumbar spine that it's getting compressed. And it's intermittent because that volume, you can actually change it.
Right.
So if you bend forward, or when we sit, often we sit with a little bit of a slouch and we bend forward, the spinal canal gets a tiny bit bigger. And when we bend backwards, it gets a tiny bit smaller. So when we stand up and walk, as we extend our legs, our back actually starts to bend a little bit into extension,
Right.
or backwards, and it narrows it, and that brings on the symptoms. So people will use this, sorry, to interrupt.
Yeah.
We call it actually the positive shopping cart sign. So people will, they're at the mall, or the grocery store, they're holding onto the shopping cart, bend over forward, and they can walk way farther than they can if they're upright. Or if you talk to the husband and wife, they're saying, walk, you're slouched forward, stand up straight. And they're like, so you start walking and you just kind of stoop to make your canal a little bigger so you can walk a little bit farther.
Right.
Golfers will describe walking the course and they start getting their symptoms. They get to the green, they stoop down to look at their putt, and their leg symptoms get a little bit better.
Nice.
Then they stand up, walk off the green, their leg symptoms come back. So it's very mechanical, and it comes that the symptoms can wax and wane.
I think the other one I heard is at night, if you're shaving or brushing your teeth, rather than doing that up straight, you're leaning over on the counter kind of, you're watching like, oh, this feels better when I lean over. So all those things to make more space, your body's figured that out, that this feels better.
Correct.
All right, so it's a space problem. These are subtle things you can do to make the space bigger or smaller, and that's sort of correlates to the symptoms. Who gets this? Is this teenagers? Is this people in their 20s, 30s? Is this people in their 60s, 70s?
Tends to occur as we age because that degenerative process takes decades to develop. So fortunately, it's not generally a young person problem. The occasional MRI, you'll get a big disc herniation, and the radiologist say this person has a stenotic canal from a giant disc in a 35-year-old. That's not what we're talking about. That's a single disc problem making the canal narrow. We're talking about the bone spurs, the ligamentum flavum, as you said, and more of a degenerative bulge happening over decades. So you tend to start to be getting into your 60s, 70s, 80s is more common in that age.
Okay. All right. And now, can we jump into treatment here? Or first the diagnosis, we said we make it with an X-ray. You mentioned an MRI.
Yeah, an MRI. So if you're getting that leg pain as we described, and you're basically your walking tolerance just gets shorter and shorter and shorter. The diagnosis is primarily made on the history.
Right.
That's the big part. Usually the examination is relatively normal from a neurological standpoint, so it's not as helpful as it is in the disc herniation, where we can almost figure out what nerve it is based on our examination. Because it's an intermittent problem, the nerves act up when you're doing activity, but goes away. It tends not to have the physical examination findings. So then we jump to the MRI, because we don't know what level it's at, so it'll tell us, is it 1 level, 2 levels? Is it in the middle of the canal? Sometimes you can have stenosis where the nerves are exiting, so it gets a little bit more complicated, but the MRI and the surgeon, radiologist can figure all of that stuff out for you.
So we'll talk about treatment before we do that. Just, this is not a dangerous problem, other than theoretically, I guess, the risk of falls, but this is not something that you say, listen, you have to do something about your spinal stenosis. The patient and the doctor get to kind of decide together. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, generally speaking, bad things like we talked about, bowel and bladder problems that can happen, those are rare. This happens slowly, and normally your walking disability gets so bad before that happens that you're pushing someone to please help me here.
Got it.
But to your point, lots of people have stenosis and really have very minimal problems, like knee arthritis, hip arthritis.
Right.
It can look kind of bad, but the person's functioning quite well. You don't replace their knee because
Yeah, you're doing well.
they're doing well. So that's kind of spinal stenosis. I put that in this kind of the same way as the hip and knee surgeons and say, okay, yeah, you have some leg symptoms, but you're managing. You tell me when you want the operation, like they tell you it's time to replace my knee. I can't tolerate it anymore.
Okay.
All right, you said it, operation. So what are some of the treatment options for spinal stenosis? I guess there's non-operative and operative treatments.
Yeah, for sure. So in the non-operative category, there are some rehab strategies. Again, we talked about flexion or bending forward, kind of opening up the canal. So there are some kind of flexion-based exercises and things that can help. It's not going to stop the degeneration from happening over time, but it can settle down the symptoms initially and maybe get you through it for a while. But it tends to be one of those things where we can predict relatively accurately that eventually you're going to need to have something done from a surgeon.
And that surgery looks like?
So that gets a little bit trickier, but in general, it's a decompression, which is opening up the canal. And that's usually done coming in from behind, removing some of the bone on the back of the spine. There are different techniques and ways of doing that. You do it on both sides, you do it on one side, but it's opening that up, Then you have that ligament. You remove that thick ligament, and the operation is almost done.
Okay.
There's little bone spurs on the side. We can see that, and then we can remove those little bone spurs on one or both sides. Usually the disc is a degenerative kind of bulge, and we don't really have to touch it. If it happens to be bigger, we might go in and remove some disc as well. But of the three things that cause it, the ligament and the facet or bone spurs on those little joints are the more common things that we remove. So that essentially enlarges the canal again, and then we sew them up, and generally, literally off to the races. So their leg pain, that walking leg pain, goes away really fast.
So that we call it decompression.
A decompression.
And we always talk about risks with any surgery, so there's going to be risk, I suspect, of nerve injury, bleeding,
Fortunately,
infection.
pretty small. We talked about the dural tear in the last episode, so go back and watch that one. That can happen in this one. A little bit more common because we're starting with a canal that's really tight. And then we're putting some sharp tools in there to remove the offending structures. And so injuring that dura happens a little bit more often with that operation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then of course all your general risks with surgery, heart attack, stroke, death, blood clot, infections, pneumonias, bad things can happen, but we take precautions to minimize the chance of something bad happening. So the chance of something bad happening is very small. And how successful is this?
It's quite successful as well for, again, leg pain.
Gotcha.
As we age, back pain increases. In disc herniations, sometimes back pain does get better. In this, it almost never gets better.
Okay.
So when we're selecting patients for surgery, you want that person who has mostly leg pain and they're not bothered by their back. That positive shopping cart sign I talked about, you have to ask them, well, what stops you?
Right.
And they say, oh, it helps my back pain. Well, that's not what we want. It helps my leg pain.
And I would say I hear this all the time because patients are frustrated, like, why will my back surgeon not operate me? It's not because they don't want to operate on you, it's because they want to operate and want the operation to be successful. So it is less commonly successful for back pain per se. It's more the leg stuff that we're good at fixing.
Yep.
Yeah.
We want you to come back and be happy and
Yeah.
bring cookies to the clinic. I'm just putting a plug in there.
I like it.
Well, listen, thank you so much for all that. We're kind of out of time here, but we appreciate all the information you've shared with us on all our videos we've made. Thanks, and we hope you'll come back again at some point.
Anytime, my pleasure.
And now you know, if you like this video, please like it, subscribe to our channel. You know all about spinal stenosis. You know that it's not super dangerous, but there are options that can help you. Leave a comment and share it with someone that you know might be suffering from some of these symptoms.
And remember, you are in charge of your own health.
We'll see you next time.